Welcome back. Hope everybody's staying blessed. It's been a minute. Been back in show business doing my scenic artwork, so I've been there for 12 hours a day, 7 days a week last month. So here I am. Terrance Howard. Ever since I ever saw this guy in film, I thought this is one of my favorite actors. There's something about the energy that he brings to the screen. And a few years ago, I was working on a show called Wayward Pines, and I had a chance to see him in action. And I wasn't able to meet him. I wish I could have, but I was busy doing my thing, and he was busy doing his thing, but I had a chance to see him. And the energy that this brother brings to the screen is unmatched. But another thing about him that always caught my attention is that I was aware he was affiliated with the Witnesses. And so obviously, being that I grew up as a witness, there's an interest that you have in one's celebrities, especially who are the same belief system or had the same belief system. Now, as I grew older, obviously, everybody who watches the channel knows I've moved away from that and moved in the conscious direction. And so observing certain things that I'd hear him say, promoting the religion, sometimes I would be frustrated, but I appreciated the fact that he was a spiritual-minded brother. And likewise with Prince, with Michael Jackson, the same thing. These are very talented, enlightened brothers that were affiliated with the same religion, with the Witnesses, that I was growing up. And so there was an interest there. Now, recently, I'm sure as most people know, about 3 weeks ago, Terrance Howard came out during the Emmys and said he was done. And he went off on a little bit of a rant talking about some really amazing and deep stuff. And I couldn't let that go by without making a video about it. So although it did happen 3 weeks ago, today I'm talking about it because it's just been on my mind. Now, I'm going to leave a link in the description to the little interview if you haven't already seen it. I'm sure most people have, that Terrance Howard did. And in that interview, he really shocked me. Because he said, he let them know that he's quitting. And he's talking about he's quitting because he wants to teach the truth. And so I kind of thought, oh, here we go. He's quitting acting and he's going to be just promoting the Witnesses, which is okay. If you want to be a witness, that's fine. But, but that's not what he did, is it? He starts going off about the flower of life. The flower of life. He starts talking about breaking through and that he's opened up the flower of life to a point where he's made some amazing breakthroughs in terms of consciousness. So the interviewers are just looking at this guy like, oh shit, here we go. Like most people who have no clue about the spiritual or the conscious or the deep things do, when you start talking about that kind of thing, they freeze up. They're like, because it's like talking color to the blind. But here on the Drinking Gourd, we talk color to those who can see color, to those who can hear the colors and see the sounds. And when we talk about opening the flower of life, like Terrance Howard explained, this is deep level, conscious, metaphysical information. And it's always interested me. I mean, I've talked about Prince and Michael Jackson. Now, it's funny because one of the last interviews that Prince did before he died was with a gentleman named Tavis Smiley. And in this interview, Tavis asked him a lot of hard-hitting questions about life, questions about race and religion, and questions about the presidency. And Prince did mention his faith, that he was a witness. But similar to Terrance Howard, he didn't go off the way I was expecting him to about the Witnesses. Instead, he started talking about some real hard-hitting, conscious stuff. He starts talking about how America and the presidency, how the presidency really goes back farther than what we're told. He starts talking about chemtrails. He starts talking about things that you wouldn't expect a witness to be talking about. And so this is the type of thing that I believe happens to a lot of people who either grow up as witnesses or are witnesses. Because, just speaking plainly, most people who are involved in that organization are sincerely interested in truth. Most people are. And most people who get involved in hardcore religion are looking for something, looking for truth, are deep people, are soul searching. And so what I find is many times what happens is when people leave the religion or when they move in a different direction in life, they still want that truth. And sometimes that truth is what calls them out of the religion. And so when I look at Terrance Howard, there's no doubt in my mind, based on what he said, talking about opening the flower of life. What does this mean? This is a concept, opening the flower of life, that is in the Bible. Oh, believe me, it's in the Bible. When we talk about getting to the highest levels of consciousness, when we talk about the 7 heavens, when we talk about going into the higher mansions, in my Father's house there are many mansions. These are metaphysical, conscious concepts. Now, when they're taught to us in church or the Kingdom Hall or wherever, we're given the literal interpretation. We're never given the deep level spiritual stuff where we talk about going inside and tapping in and opening up that flower life. Because when he says opening up the flower life, he's not talking about in his garden. He's talking about in his heart, right? I don't know exactly what he's feeling or what he's thinking, so I can't tell you that. But I can tell you, when we talk about the flower of life, this is a concept that is opened up within. It's the idea of taking your consciousness to the next level. Now, to those who think this is all fun and games, you know what they say, don't run in the house with scissors. It's all good fun until someone loses an eye. The scientific world is on the same tip. They won't break it down like Terrance Howard did, but they're trying to cheat the system. You see, when we talk about people like Elon Musk, right now, you may be aware he's working on something. I believe it's called Neurolink. I watched a debate that he had with the owner of Alibaba, and he was talking about Neurolink and how important it is to bring Neurolink to society. What is Neurolink? It's the idea of taking a computer program and downloading it, or I guess uploading it into your mind. And so by uploading it into the mind, it allows, just like you see in the Matrix, people to gain infinite amounts of knowledge, of wisdom. And so this is the exact same thing, except on a spiritual level, in my opinion, that Terrance Howard is talking about. And so when he says, okay, I'm trying to leave acting to go and teach the world the truth, this very well, in my opinion, is what he's talking about. He's talking about that conscious awakening, that same conscious awakening that we see happening all across the world. So, for me, when I look at these guys, they're inspirations for me. Some people think they're jokes. When you hear the interview and you see the way a lot of people kind of drag the guy's name through the mud because of the interview, and because he decided to quit the film industry, or maybe not quit film, but to quit the show, that tells you that he's getting to the next level. That tells you that he's looking at things from a much higher level. And this is what happens when a lot of people leave religion. And I think right now you're seeing a lot of people called out of these religions, called out of these churches, called out of the witnesses, because they're starting to wake up and they're starting to see things on a truly deep spiritual level. So I couldn't leave this alone without talking about it. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes, see what else he has coming. He said he's coming out with something on YouTube, so we'll be looking for that. That's what it is. I feel bad that I haven't been able to get on here more often with everybody, but life takes its toll on us all, right? So I'm going to be trying to come at least once a month with more hard-hitting material. So keep your eyes open for that. Like, subscribe, stay up. Peace and love. I'm out.